When my sister demanded I take our neglectful mother into my home, I decided to stand up for myself. What happened next tested family bonds, revealed painful truths, and forced us to confront years of unresolved hurt. When we were kids, my dad worked hard to support us. My mom, though, stayed at home. You'd think she was taking care of us, but she wasn't. She spent her days on the sofa, glued to the TV. She barely cooked or cleaned. It was like she wasn't a mom to us at all. My sister Amy and I grew up in the same house, but we had very different experiences. I was always the one picking up the slack. By the time I was 10, I was making meals and cleaning. Amy, on the other hand, didn't lift a finger. She was Mom's favorite, and it showed. When I turned 18, my mom kicked me out. She said it was time for me to be independent. Amy, though, got to stay. She was 16 then. I remember Dad argued with Mom about it. They fought a lot, and soon after, they got divorced. Mom moved on quickly. She remarried almost instantly, but then her new husband died. After her husband's death, Mom had nowhere to go. She asked to move in with my family. Reluctantly, I said yes. It was a mistake. She acted like she owned the place. She offered to babysit the kids but only watched them twice a week for half a day. And even then, she neglected them. One time, she didn't change my baby's diaper for hours. It was the last straw. I asked her to leave. That's when Amy got involved. She started calling me, shaming me for kicking Mom out. How could you do that to Mom? Amy yelled over the phone. You're a terrible daughter. Me? What about you, Amy? You said you had no space for her, remember? I shot back. Amy's voice was sharp. That's different. I don't have room. You do. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So, it's okay for me to take her in, but not you? That's hypocritical, Amy. You're being selfish. She cried. She's our mother. We owe her. Owe her? For what? Neglecting us? Kicking me out? Ruining Dad's life? She had her chance to be a good mom, and she blew it. You can't just abandon her. This is cruel. I took a deep breath. She made her bed, Amy. Now she has to lie in it. If you're so worried, you take her. Amy was silent for a moment. You can't do this. I don't have space. Figure it out, Amy. Just like I had to. 2 days later, I called Amy again. Mom's moving in with you. Are you out of your mind? Amy shouted. You can't just dump her on me. Oh, so now space is an issue? I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. When it's me, I'm supposed to accommodate her, but you can't. Amy was furious. You're ruining everything. No, I'm setting boundaries. If you can't understand that, it's your problem. The next day, I packed Mom's bags and drove her to Amy's house. Amy was waiting at the door, looking like she'd seen a ghost. She's all yours, I said, handing over the bags. This isn't fair, Amy said, her voice shaking. Welcome to my world, I replied. Maybe now you'll see why I couldn't take it anymore. As I drove away, I breathed a sigh of relief. I knew Amy was in for a tough time, but it was about time she faced reality. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace. I hoped it would last. 2 days after Mom moved in with Amy, my phone rang. I could tell from the caller ID it was Amy, and I knew she wasn't calling to chat. I picked up, bracing myself for the onslaught. She's driving me crazy, Amy shouted before I could even say hello. Mom's been here 2 days, and it's a nightmare. Well, that's how I've been living, I replied calmly. You don't understand, Amy continued, her voice shaking. She refuses to do anything. She sits on the couch all day, watching TV. She won't even make herself a sandwich. I understand perfectly, I said. I lived it, remember? Amy sighed, frustration clear in her voice. I can't take it. She's so demanding. She acts like I owe her everything. That's what I've been dealing with for years, I replied. Now you see why I asked her to leave. Amy was silent for a moment. I thought you were exaggerating, she admitted. But it's worse than I imagined. I'm sorry you're going through this, I said. But I had to set boundaries for my family's sake. After hanging up, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. The house was quieter, more peaceful. My kids seemed happier, too. They weren't on edge, waiting for the next outburst from their grandmother. Mama, can we play a game? My youngest asked, smiling up at me. Of course, sweetie, I replied, feeling lighter than I had in years. The days passed, and the peace in my home grew. Without Mom's negative energy, our household felt warmer and more connected. My husband and I had more time for each other, and the kids were thriving. One evening, as I was preparing dinner, my phone rang again. It was Amy. We need to talk, she said, her voice calmer but still strained. Okay, what's on your mind? I asked. Mom is making my life hell, she said bluntly. But I think I understand why you did what you did. I paused, letting her words sink in. Go on. I thought you were being cruel, but now I see you were trying to protect your family, she admitted. I don't know what to do. It's about setting boundaries, I said gently. Mom never learned how to be a proper parent. She expects us to cater to her because that's all she knows. But how do I deal with her? Amy asked, desperation creeping back into her voice. You have to be firm, I advised. Explain what you can and can't do for her. It won't be easy, but it's necessary. Amy sighed. I guess I never realized how much you were dealing with. It was a lot, I agreed. But it taught me the importance of putting my immediate family first. There was a long pause on the line. I'm sorry I judged you, Amy finally said. I was wrong. Thank you, I said, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. I'm glad you understand now. As I hung up, I reflected on how much things had changed. Growing up, I felt neglected and alone, bearing the brunt of Mom's indifference. But now, I had a chance to create a different environment for my own kids. Setting boundaries with Mom was hard, but it was the right decision. My mom suddenly befriended my stepmother. I was shocked when I accidentally discovered her real motive. My mother-in-law moved in with us after her house flooded. I was stunned when I overheard her real reason. My parents prioritized my brother over me and went to his game instead of my wedding. My relatives made them regret Amy and I had a lot to work through, but I hoped this experience would bring us closer. She finally saw things from my perspective, and that was a start. In the end, it wasn't about abandoning our mother. It was about recognizing our own needs and taking steps to protect our well-being. Childhood neglect had shaped us, but it doesn't have to define our futures. As I tucked my kids into bed that night, I felt a sense of calm and clarity. Family responsibility meant many things, but most importantly, it meant ensuring a loving and supportive environment for my children. And that was something worth fighting for. My mom suddenly befriended my stepmother. I was shocked when I accidentally discovered her real motive. I was 4 years old when my parents split up, and my dad remarried pretty quickly to a woman named Jane. You'd think from all the stories and movies that she'd be wicked, right? But Jane? She's been nothing short of amazing. She not only made sure my dad stayed in our lives, but she also pushed him to maintain a friendly relationship with Mom. Trust me, she's definitely not your typical fairy tale villain. Mom, on the other hand, had a tough time with the whole situation. To put it mildly, she despised Jane, blaming her for the split and everything that seemed to go wrong after that. It truly seemed like my mother was jealous of my stepmom, not only because she was now playing second fiddle to this lovely new lady, but also because Jane was vastly more financially successful than my mom. Growing up, it felt like being in the middle of a tug-of-war, where every visit to Dad's place was a battle to make it out the door, a battle to make it back, and a silent, cold war of glares and tight smiles once I returned. And looming over it all was the fact that Jane treated me as her own, going so far as to establish a trust fund in my name that I would have access to once I turned 18. Read the rest of this story here. This work is inspired by real events and people, but it has been fictionalized for creative purposes. Names, characters, and details have been changed to protect privacy and enhance the narrative. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental and not intended by the author. The author and publisher make no claims to the accuracy of events or the portrayal of characters and are not liable for any misinterpretation. This story is provided as is, and any opinions expressed are those of the characters and do not reflect the views of the author or publisher.